The way I approach a DUI case, honestly, my philosophy was crafted long before I ever met with the client on how I was going to handle their case, long before the client was ever arrested. Frankly, long before any of that happened, I made a decision a long time ago, and I'm going to ask some of you to do a little bit of soul searching here, okay? Because that's what it all comes down to. Nobody in this business is going to be perfect. We all know that. You're always going to have clients that are going to push you. They're going to try to get more from you than you're able to give. But it starts with one simple phrase that I have used over and over again. Master your craft. Well, look, it comes down to, if you look back into the ancient history, you look back like to the role of the samurai. I like to study some of the old war history, things like that. The samurai did one thing. They were hired by the landowners to do one thing. Defend the landowner. To fight. I try cases because that is the trust that was put in me by the clients. I didn't say to the client when they're interviewing me, saying, you know, I really don't understand the science behind this very well. I'm kind of afraid to lose, so I don't take a lot of cases to trial. And I usually just take whatever offer the district attorney, the scraps that they throw me, and say that that's a really good offer. Who here thinks a client's going to hire you and pay top dollar for your defense if that's what you told them? Well, we all know the answer. Nobody. But I'll also submit to you that at least in my jurisdiction, and I'm sure in all of your jurisdictions, there's plenty of lawyers that should be telling their clients that, because that's what they're doing. We'll have our reasons why we got into this business. But ask yourself this, why do you handle a DUI case? Why do you take that case? For those of you that have mixed practices, that do DUIs, maybe some other criminal, maybe some civil, ask yourself, why do you take a DUI case? Because it's easy? Not really. I mean, it may on its surface. If you're the lawyers that Mike was talking about a few minutes ago that just want to run to the court and plead everybody guilty, yeah, I guess that's easy. That I don't think is why you did it. Is it lucrative? It can be. But so are many other areas of the law are lucrative. So why did you do it? Well, I did it for a simple reason. When I first started taking cases, I realized that because I started doing all kinds of criminal work, and I only do DUI now. My clients had one thing in common. Every single one of them. They were good people that made a mistake. That got themselves into a jam. Who here in this room feels that, if just in your DUI clients, that you're representing criminals? Yeah, not a hand in the room has gone up. And that's the truth. But you have to ask yourself, to keep your clients happy, why did they hire you? Okay, most of the time, your clients are going to come to you. They've met with several of your colleagues. Usually it's people that you know. Why did they hire you? Well, whoever gets up in the morning is about to go to court on behalf of a client and asks that very question. Why did this particular client hire me? Well, there could be a lot of reasons. Maybe you've got a great website. Maybe they've heard through the grapevine that you're really good. All of that is probably true, but at the end of the day, they're hiring you for one simple reason. They trust you. Okay? It's very easy in this business to get jaded, to look at every case the same, pick up a police report. Yeah, well, you know, that's the blood alcohol level. How many lawyers do you have in your jurisdiction, though, that you look around and you say, you know what, there's one or two lawyers that I really admire? Does everybody have that in your jurisdiction? Yeah. Okay. Conversely, how many of you look around your jurisdiction and say, you know, there's a few that will be polite here since we're being recorded, that you hold, let's say, in less than high regard? Everybody nodding their head? Right. So ask yourself this question. What are you doing every day of your practice to make yourself more like the ones you admire and less like the ones you hold in lower regard? What are you doing about it? That's what this comes down to, mastering your craft. Again, there's a phrase that was told to me years ago when I limited my practice to DUI. It said, do one thing, do it better than everybody else, and they will line up at your door. One of the first seminars I came to, the gentleman who's the president of this organization, Vince Tucci, said a phrase that has always stuck with me. Good things happen when you answer ready for trial. We've all heard it. We've been hearing it for years. So my question to those of you that are in the room and those of you that are watching this later on a video, why aren't you trying cases? What's the problem? Like Mike said, you know, he does a lot of motion work, exceptional motion work. I've used his motions, I've plagiarized them, etc. But I'm a trial lawyer. That's what I do. That's my job. And when the client hires me, there's an expectation. Again, this is about keeping your clients happy. So you have an obligation from the second they walk into your office to be honest with them. If you're afraid to go to trial, then tell them you're afraid to go to trial. Do you know how many phone calls I get a week from local lawyers asking me questions, frankly, that are DUI 101 about trials? Saying, hey, I've got this trial coming, and they present this factual scenario to me, and I don't even know how to respond to it, other than you really have no business trying this case. You don't know what you're doing, because they haven't sought to master their craft. So how do you do that? Well, you come to seminars like this. You buy the books. You read them. Go watch the better lawyers in your jurisdiction. My clients are sitting there saying, whether we win or lose, they're sitting there saying, you know what? This guy's gone to the mat for me. He's pulling out every single stop. And that's right. You can't be afraid of whether you piss the DA off. You're supposed to piss the DA off. That's your job. You're supposed to be the fly in the ointment for them. Well, I don't want to get on the bad side of the judges. Why not? When we do defense work, we're on the other side. We're the ones that the client says, I want you, just like any of the men in this room would do. Ladies, don't take exception to this. Any of the men in this room, if there was someone that broke into your house and your wife and kids are there, you put them behind you and say, you got to get by me before you touch them. There's not a man in this room that doesn't feel that way. Well, that's what your clients expect you to do too. And if you do, the biggest compliment a client can pay you is when you're waiting for a jury verdict and they say, I don't care how this thing turns out, I can't thank you enough. You put your heart and soul into this. Hey, if you get a not guilty verdict, that's a bonus. But either way, that client knows that you've left it all out there, like we expect of our sporting figures. You know, you go watch a boxing match, you expect the guys to leave it all out there. So why aren't you? And that's not to say that everybody here isn't. We're not up here to castigate people, but we're trying to inspire people because it's really frustrating for those of us that try case after case after case when we stand up at the trial readiness conference and say, ready for trial, Judge, and there's 5 DAs sitting over there that have nothing to do because everyone else, Judge, we're pleading guilty. Great. So I was going to use the ability, when I looked on the court's calendar and saw that there are 15 cases set for trial, that my client might actually not have to go through the stress and additional expense of a trial because the DA is up against the wall here. They've got too many cases. And then everybody comes in and drops their pants and says, well, we're pleading guilty. Why? Why are you pleading guilty? What's the number one reason we hear that someone doesn't want to go to trial? Money. Well, guess what? Another piece of advice that was given to me, and this is for a lot of you younger lawyers, get in there and try these cases. Don't worry about the money. You want to make money in this business? Try cases. Get a reputation for being fearless. Get a reputation for being a guy that says, I don't care if my client is a 21-year-old college student. He's got a case. He's asked me to defend him. And by God, that's what I'm going to do. If he can pay me, great. If not, I'll do it for free. I don't care. I want the win. Because not only does that benefit that client, it benefits every single other one of your clients. There are attorneys, again, as Mike mentioned, there are attorneys in my jurisdiction that advertise such things as, call me anytime, I'm available. Why aren't you in court? Did you tell your clients that you're always available by the phone? No, you told them you were an aggressive trial lawyer, right? Ask your clients, those of you that are trying cases, invite your clients to come watch you, the prospective client. When I get a client that comes in and says, well, why should I hire you over so-and-so? Well, I'm racking 12 jurors tomorrow morning. Why don't you show up at the courthouse and watch me? See that I'm walking my talk. What your clients want from you is honesty. Honesty up front about your abilities. Honesty about how hard you're going to work the case. Not Whether you've got a great resume, you've got a beautiful office, those things come in time. But what they want to see is that you were straight with them. I don't like the practice of charging extra money for trial. We included an initial fee up front, and that means I am your lawyer from start to finish. The fee is healthy, to be sure, but that means if after your client, let's say he pleads to a wet reckless and forgets to do his class or something, he calls you up and says, look, there's a warrant out for my arrest. How many lawyers are going to say, well, it's an extra $500 for me to go to court? To walk across the street, spend 15 seconds in front of a judge getting a warrant recalled. I had a client come in and hire me that had been represented by another lawyer. He showed me the bill. It was every time they did something, there was another charge, over and above the initial all-inclusive retainer. In other words, the client got sold a bill of goods. There was fine print. And I tell my clients, look, here's the retainer. Once you got me, I'm in your back pocket until this nightmare is over. You want me to go expunge a conviction for you in 2.5 years? It's on me. I'm not going to charge you for that. There's a $60 filing fee. I'll pay it. But at the end of the day, how many referrals do you think my firm gets from those people? They're happy. They're realizing that when you talked to me up front and you told me this was what it was going to cost, you told me the truth. You were honest with me. So look, we only have very brief amounts of time up here to speak about this. All I can tell you, listen to the captain's advice and run your motions. But from a trial lawyer's standpoint, make it easier on yourself in the future, all of your colleagues, and on your clients, and try some cases, please. Thank you.